Prey is a very good action horror film, as long as you don't think about the character development or the plot. If you do think about it, yeah, nothing in this movie makes any sense. In general, Prey is a solid B movie. Simple plot, simple characters, short runtime. We get in, we see the big bad, he kills a bunch of people until only the lead character is left, who then kills the big bad. The end. It's not meant to be genre breaking or the greatest cinema ever made. It's by the numbers action horror. It's also unique in that the story is set in the 18th century among a Comanche tribe. There are a few recent films about Native Americans, and I can't think of any of them that were a horror film, let alone one about an alien attack. How do Native Americans fend off a predator? That seems like an interesting story, and it would be if it didn't rely on the overused lazy strong woman trope. Naru, the main character, starts off being good at everything and full of confidence in her skills, and ends the film the same way. She has zero character development and zero growth. Her only conflict is that her tribe doesn't see how awesome she is because she's a girl. Cliched as that trope is, it could still work if Naru actually had to prove herself, but she doesn't. She's good at everything, so there's no actual conflict or tension between her and the boys who reject her. This lack of tension and conflict hurts the film. The movie is beautifully shot. It was filmed in Alberta, Canada, which looks stunning and is begging for a Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings treatment. The music is epic, in some cases way more than what's needed. The cast is Native American, so everyone looks the part. Visually and musically, it's a solid film. Where it breaks down is the plot and the characters. The gist is that Naru is a healer, but she wants to become a hunter, and wants to take the coming-of-age hunting challenge to prove her worth. However, no one thinks she can. The problem is that no one actually tries to stop Naru from becoming a hunter. It's the weirdest part of the film because you'd expect that the tribe would have some rule against women going on the hunt. But no. You'd think Naru would face some punishment or reprimand for wandering off to play tomahawk when she's supposed to be gathering food and supplies, but no. You'd think they'd take away her axe and bow, but no. When Naru wanders off to practice her axe throwing, which she's awesome at, she spots a deer and tries to kill it, using her well-trained dog Sari to help her corral the deer, and almost succeeds until her dog gets caught in a bear trap. Once Naru frees Sari, she sees the predator ship in the clouds and assumes it's a thunderbird, which she takes as a sign it's time for her hunt. When she tells her brother Tabe, he doesn't believe her about the thunderbird, but he also never says Naru can't do the hunt because she's a girl. He simply thinks she's not ready, which implies women in the tribe are allowed to do the hunt. So why would anyone oppose Naru trying, especially when she's so good at everything? To this point, while she and her brother talk, they're tracking a hawk. Naru keeps waiting to shoot it, so her brother shoots it instead. He claims that Naru was sleeping, but no, she was really waiting for the hawk to circle back. Now Tabe has to cross the river to get the bird. Tabe is a hunter, but here it's his sister, who is not a hunter, lecturing him on the proper way to hunt. A similar thing happens with the other hunters. One of the hunters goes to kill a mountain lion but doesn't come back, so the others go to look for him. Naru follows them, and when they notice her, they tell her to go home, but Tabe says she can stay because she's good at tracking and knows medicine. But they're all hunters. Wouldn't they be good at tracking too? Or is Naru, the girl who's not a hunter, just that much better than them? Yes, the answer is yes. She's the one who notices the predator's tracks. She's the one who finds it weird that the lion attacked the hunter but didn't kill him. She's the one who finds the remains of a snake skinned by the predator. None of the other hunters notice these things, and when Naru brings them up, none of the boys care. Naru notices that the predator tracks are larger than any bear tracks she's ever seen, but none of the boys do. When they hunt, do they just wander around until they find an animal and kill it? Part of hunting is tracking your prey. Why wouldn't they notice the predator's tracks that don't match anything they've ever seen before? The same goes for the medicine Naru uses to help the wounded hunter. The boys make a stretcher for him, showing that they're good at building things on the fly, and they help Naru find the flowers that eases the hunter's pain, showing that they know about the medicine. They know enough about it to realize Naru gives the hunter more than the usual amount. That would imply they've seen the medicine used before and know what it does. However, Naru still explains that the medicine slows down the hunter's heart rate to stop the blood loss, and when he complains about being cold, she stops the others from covering him because this would increase his heart rate again, causing him to bleed out. It makes no sense that none of them would know this, unless the plot needs them not to know it in order to make Naru look more competent. The same thing happens with the mountain lion scene. After Naru finds the skinned snake, she goes to warn her brother, and one of the hunters follows her. When they find Tabe, he's found the lion's den. Naru warns him about the predator, but Tabe wants to deal with the lion first. He tells her that now is the time for her hunt. Naru wants to bait the lion, but the other hunter shoots this down, saying a hunter doesn't bait, he hunts. Right. Hunters don't make plans. They just go and kill things. They don't think about anything they're doing before they do it. They don't try to trap animals. They don't try to lure them into places to make them easier to kill. No, they just stalk and kill. So, to recap, Naru is better at medicine, at tracking, at hunting, and now does the one thing none of the boys can do: make plans. All of these hunters have been turned into sexist idiots in order to make Naru look better than them. It's just laughable. Almost as funny as a hunter going on and on about how Naru is scared of the lion while they're acting as bait in the tree. You already know what's going to happen. The boy bragging about how he's better because he's male gets ate up by the lion, leaving Naru to face it alone with her spear. But she fails. She doesn't kill the lion. Not because she's not skilled enough to do it, but because the branch breaks and she slips and she falls and she hits her head. So now her brother has to carry her home and then go and kill the lion by himself. The one moment where Naru's confidence could get her into trouble and she would be humbled and have to experience some character growth is now avoided by having nature screw her over. Of course, Naru is butthurt about her brother killing the lion and becoming the war chief, so she decides to go and kill the predator on her own. And again, if the tribe were so against women doing this, you'd think they would try to stop her from leaving the next morning, but no. She just walks past all the women into the wild to hunt the predator. No one stops her. And then she decides to hunt rabbits, but can't hit them and loses time trying to go and get her axe, so she makes a rope for it so she can pull it back. She practices and masters this technique in a few minutes, bags the rabbits, and then walks into a bog where she spots bear tracks and then promptly gets trapped in mud. Normally, this would be the point where the character who thought they didn't need anyone would be saved by someone from the tribe, but Naru is a strong woman, so she don't need no man's help. She saves herself and winds up covered in mud in front of these branches that look like the ones from the first Predator film. Naru saving herself would be fine if there had been anything in the film showing she needed people's help before, but since that never happens, this moment rings hollow. Obviously she's going to save herself because she's great at everything. There's no tension or conflict. The only legitimate tension in the film for Naru is when she gets chased by the bear. She runs into a beaver den for safety, but the bear breaks in. Then the predator comes and kills the bear, giving Naru the first glimpse of it. She runs away and bumps into the hunters who come looking for her. She tells them about the predator, but again, despite them knowing Naru's skill at everything, they don't believe her. Instead, they try to take her home, but she fights back and whoops the hunter's ass because she's a strong woman. So of course she can beat down this bigger dude with ease. Then the predator shows up and mauls all of them. Not Naru, obviously, just the boys. They get some hits in, but they've got stone tools, and the predator is loaded with advanced weapons, so he wins. Naru gets away. She literally outruns one of the boy hunters because of course the tall dude with long legs can't keep up with the short girl. But Naru gets caught in a bear trap herself and found by French bison hunters who capture her and have the translator try to find out what she knows about the predator. Naru won't talk, but it turns out they've also captured her brother Tabe, and the Frenchmen decide to use the pair as bait for the predator. Now, because this is a Frenchman's plan and not Naru's, it doesn't work. Instead, the predator decimates all of them, and it's glorious. Some of the best kills in the franchise. Of course, Naru is the one who figures out how to free herself and her brother using one of the traps to bite through the rope. Tabe goes to get a horse, while Naru goes back to the camp to get her tools and her dog. There are Frenchmen still in the camp, so you already know what happens. She kills all of them with ease, just full-on John Wick. All of the men in this film are useless compared to Naru. Then the translator shows up. He's missing a leg. He asks for help in exchange for teaching Naru how to use a gun. Naru finds one of the predator's weapons still around this guy's leg bone and keeps it. She gives him the flowers that slow the heart rate, and then the predator shows up and stops right in front of the dude. Naru realizes it can't see the guy, but he gets killed anyway when the predator steps on him and he screams. Tabe then shows up on horseback, and for one brief moment, he's a badass. He just jacks up the predator with stone tools. Now, in truth, the Comanche were not to be fucked with. They were the greatest horsemen in the Americas, possibly in the world. They could do everything the Mongols did, and they did it without saddles. You know that thing gunslingers are known for? They're six-shooters? The Comanche are part of the reason they exist. The Westerners needed a gun that could fire as fast as the Comanche could fire arrows. They were that fast. So it's not improbable that Tabe would be this good on horseback. He does this move where he throws his spear at the predator, leaps off the horse, rolls, and then shoots his bow within seconds. The Comanche actually did things like that. Don't take my word for it. Read The Empire of the Summer Moon. The things these people could do on horseback were incredible. My problem isn't the badassery. It's just that it's improbable this would work on an alien who has superior technology. Tabe knocks off the Predator's mask, and it gets pissed and fires his homing bolts at Tabe, seemingly forgetting that they track to wherever the laser sights point. How do you forget how your own technology works? And why wouldn't you notice that the bolts weren't hitting him? However, Naru notices because she's a strong woman. Anyway, Tabe gets the best of the Predator, so it cloaks itself, and then Tabe says to Naru that his time is up because he hears the Predator behind him. It stabs him and then goes for Naru, but Tabe stabs it in the leg, distracting it, allowing Naru to run away. She mourns her brother for a few minutes, and then notices one of the Frenchmen. She decides to capture him and use him as bait for the Predator, and this works because it's Naru doing it. She cuts off the dude's leg with the Predator weapon she took, and leaves the guy's rifle right in front of him, which he loads and tries to shoot Naru with it, but she's removed the powder, so it doesn't spark. During all of this, she monologues something to the effect of, "I am woman, hear me roar," and then eats the flowers to hide herself from the Predator. She literally sidesteps it as it walks in to kill the Frenchman, and then she shoots it in the back of the head with the flintlock, knocking off its mask. Naru steals the mask and then runs to the bog where she set up these traps for the Predator, including putting the Frenchman's leg right near the sinkhole. The Predator doesn't fall for this though, and just stands there, but that was actually Naru's plan. She's in a tree and then jumps down and just hacks the shit out of the Predator. She effortlessly, I will repeat that, effortlessly kicks the Predator's ass. She tricks him into cutting off his own arm. She has the dog pass her the axe as she slides between the Predator's legs and tags him in the knee. Then she wraps the rope around his head and his neck and pulls him into the sinkhole and then crawls up against those branches just like Dutch did in the first film. The Predator stands up, aims his bolt shooter, shoots, but doesn't notice the laser sight on the side of his head until it's too late. Naru wins the day by tricking the Predator into killing itself. She returns home with her kill and is made war chief, and then there's a hint that more Predators are coming. And that's the end. Prey is being heralded as this tour de force. Did we watch the same movie? If you turn your brain off, this is an awesome movie. Until the end, the Predator is dominating everybody, and it's a joy to watch. How many crazy ways can an alien kill somebody? Let's try them all. But if you think about the plot or the characters, none of this makes any sense. Naru wins with no effort. She's never at risk, never in danger, never even frightened in any real sense. She winds up exactly where she began, good at everything. The only change is now the tribe recognizes it too. Contrast that with Dutch and his team in Predator. They're already badass ex-military dudes, and we get to see this when they destroy the enemy base apparently made of explosium because literally everything blows up. The car, the wooden huts, a pile of dirt, but not the cans that look like they're filled with gas. No, those are fine. But the trees behind them? Kaboom. But when they leave and the Predator starts hunting them, they're terrified because they don't know what it is. Only one person thinks it's 3 or 4 enemy guerrillas still picking them off one by one. Everyone else realizes it's something else, probably not of this world, and they're scared of it. That works because these are hardcore military guys. They're not afraid of anything. So for them to be scared shitless to the point one of them's in complete denial tells you how dangerous the Predator is. And when Dutch finally wins, he's shook to his core. He's got this vacant stare as the film ends, like this entire thing broke him. That is a man who is changed by his experience. Naru, on the other hand, same as she began. Nothing changed. Zero growth, zero development. This is the core problem with these action girl and strong women stories. There's no depth to any of these characters. The best case scenario is that the women don't believe in themselves. Otherwise, they just coast through the film with no weaknesses, no tests, and no challenges. The only conflict is sexism, which usually only works because the men are made so incompetent that the women automatically look better in comparison. All it would have taken to add some depth to Naru's story was to actually see some people trying to stop her from hunting, or better yet, to see that she's not as great at everything as she thinks, that she needs to learn from others or needs their help, if not from the other boys, then at least from her brother. If she had hesitated in fighting, despite all her training, that would have helped. Just something to give her some room to grow as a person, so that her fight with the Predator isn't so easy, and she actually has something to overcome. That said, if you don't think about the character development or the plot, it is a fun B-movie. But if you do think about it, it might just break your brain. But what do I know? I'm just some guy.